Hey, boys and girls, this is Mr. Bell. Listen, we're going to be talking about dividing decimals by decimals, and this is the last video in our decimal series. Okay, this is the big daddy right here. All right, so pay attention. Let me tell you how to do it. It's not that hard. All right, so let's start. I have two examples. First one is 1.68 divided by 0.8. All right, so set it up. First thing you got to do. All right, 1.68 goes inside the house. Next thing you want to do is 0.8. All right. Now, we can't divide by a decimal. Can't do it. So we have to change this decimal into a whole number. And we mathematically do that by multiplying by 10. All right? But in reality, all I want to do is just move this decimal one place until it gets over here. And then if I do how many ever places in the divisor, I have to do it in the dividend as well. Okay, so my new decimal's right there. So that means when I move my decimal up, my decimal goes right there. Then I just divide like it's a regular number. All right, so this is now 8. 8 won't go into 1, but 8 will go into 16 two times. 2 times 8 is 16. I subtract, I get 0. I bring the 8 down. 8 will go into 8 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. I divide, that's my answer. So the answer to 1.68 divided by 0.8 is 2.1. All right, let's look at one more example. Maybe I'll slow down a little bit there and you can see what I'm doing. Because it's the same thing. Doesn't matter where the decimal place is in your divisor, you got to move it to the right side of your number. So, and then you do the same thing to your dividend. All right, second example, and this is a biggie. Let's see. 8.658 divided by 4.38. All right, first thing I do is set it up. 4.38 is inside. 8.658 is on the 4.38 is on the outside. 8.658 is on the inside. First thing I want to do, move this decimal all the way to the right. I cannot divide by a decimal. So I move it one place, two places, and it's all the way to the right. So I do the same thing inside the house. I move it one place, two places. That's where the new decimal is. And that's where I put it above my number on top of the house. So now I just go ahead and divide. How many times is 438? 438 go into 865. Well, you can do that little box thing. Usually I just cover these numbers up with my fingers, but I'm going to take a guess and say it's going to be around 2, all right? Because 4 times 2 is 8, so that's my thought process here. All right, so 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and then 2 plus 4 is 8. So my number's too big, 876. So I have to erase it and go back to just having a 1 there. All right, it's not a 2 at all. Okay, so it's going to go in one time. That's 438. I subtract, I get a 0, I get a 3, and I get a 4. See, I got 430 as my remainder here. It's 8 less than 438, so it's a legitimate number. So now I got to bring 8 down here. So once again, I'm going to kind of cover up 2 places and say 8 will go into 43. I'm going to go ahead and just call it 9 because it looks like it's bigger than 9, but it can't be. So 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 7 is 34. 9 times 4 is 36. That's 39. All right, so I subtract. 2 from 8 is 6. 4 from 0 you can't do. You got to borrow. That becomes a 10. That's a 6. 9 from 2 you can't do, so that's a 3. That's a 12. 9 from 12 is 3, so 365. We can add a 0 and keep dividing until either we get a pattern or it terminates. 4 will go in there. Let's see what I just get. 39. I'm going to try 8. See what happens with that. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 3 is 24. That's 30. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 3 is 35. So it looks like I'm about in the right spot. Can't subtract 4 from 0, so I got to make it a 10. That becomes a 6. I can subtract 0 from 4. That leaves me with 4 still. 5 from 6 is 1. So 146, I'm going to add another 0. All right. So I'm covering up two numbers, 4 going to 14. I'm going to say 3 times. Man, I'm still not even dividing out. I'll tell you what, let me do this last one and then we'll just round it. All right, 3 times 8 is 24. Let's see if I was right. 3 times 3 is 9, 10, 11. 3 times 4 is 12, 13. Looks pretty good. 5, that's a 10. Subtract, that's 6. That's 4. That's 1. 146. I'm going to keep adding a 0. It looks like I'm repeating. Because if I add a 0 and bring it down, I'm going to get 1460, which is what I had here. So it's going to start repeating. So my answer is 1.983 with the bar over it, which tells me that my bar is going to keep repeating and keep repeating. But that's it. Now, that was kind of a screwy problem. You probably won't run into those at this level, but it gives you an idea of what happens. You can always keep adding zeros to a decimal, and you'll never change its value. So you can just keep dividing until, like I said, you either get a terminating decimal or a repeater. And we got a repeater in this case. All right.